I mean, imagine betting $200 billion on a single idea in 1 year.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Right. Just putting that kind of capital on the table and saying, we are right. And then imagine at the exact same time, there's a $150 billion lawsuit that's like threatening to completely tear apart the original architects of that very same idea.
It is wild.
It's completely wild. So, welcome to the deep dive. Because today, we are looking at the precise moment the AI industry stopped being this theoretical gold rush and basically transformed into a heavily industrialized global economy.
Yeah, it really is a distinct tipping point, I think, because for a few years now, we've been living in this speculation phase, right?
All right, totally.
People just run around with pickaxes, making these wild claims about what artificial intelligence, might do in the next decade. But when you look at the actual physical infrastructure being laid down today, the tents are gone. Like, the dirt paths are getting paved right now.
Exactly. And, if you are listening to this right now and feeling completely overwhelmed by the sheer volume of AI news hitting your feed every single day, which, let's be honest, we all are.
Oh, absolutely.
We are going to use today's deep dive to just cut through that noise for you.
Yeah.
We are working off the Tech Reader AI Digest, which was published by Aaron Rose on Thursday, April 9, 2026.
And it's a great issue.
It is.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about research papers predicting the future here. We are looking at massive revenue, physical infrastructure deployments, and historic legal precedents that are happening right this very minute.
Which is exactly why looking closely at a single day's digest like this is so revealing. I mean, when you strip away the daily noise and just look at the hard data from one single 24-hour cycle, the macro patterns become undeniable.
Yeah. So let's start with, honestly, the biggest reality check in the entire digest. Because you constantly hear people asking, like, is the AI bubble going to burst? Are we overhyping this whole thing?
Right, the bubble question.
Right. Always the bubble question. Well, Amazon just answered that question with an absolute sledgehammer. In his annual shareholder letter, CEO Andy Jassy revealed that Amazon Web Services, their AI business, just hit a $15 billion annual revenue run rate as of Q1 2026.
15 billion. And we really need to pause on that term for a second, because when a company talks about a revenue run rate, they are basically taking their current revenue for a short period.
Like a month or a quarter.
Exactly, like a single quarter. And they stretch it out over a full year to show you their current trajectory. So it's a way of saying, if we keep performing exactly as we are right now, this is a $15 billion business.
Which is massive just on its own. But Jesse also pointed out that this AI business is growing roughly 260 times faster than AWS itself did at a comparable stage.
Yes. Yeah, that 260x multiplier is the detail that really matters here. I mean, 3 years ago, this specific revenue stream inside Amazon was essentially zero.
Literally zero.
Right. And now it's generating the kind of revenue that would make it a Fortune 500 company all by itself.
And because of that explosive growth, Amazon is committing $200 billion in capital expenditures in 2026, mostly for AI infrastructure.
That's just a staggering number.
It is. And just to ground that for a second, capital expenditures, or CapEx, that isn't money spent on like marketing campaigns or payroll. It's money spent on physical, hard assets.
Right, buying land, pouring concrete.
Building massive server farms. Exactly. So to help you, the listener, wrap your head around $200 billion in a single year. Imagine a company deciding to build an entirely new interstate highway system across the entire country in just 12 months.
It's an unprecedented deployment of physical capital. There's really no other way to put it.
Wait, hold on, though. Let me play devil's advocate. Even for a giant like Amazon, dropping $200 billion in a single year on physical servers sounds, a little reckless?
You'd think so, yeah.
Like, what happens if the tech hits a wall? Isn't this still a massive, terrifying gamble for them?
Well, what's fascinating here is that Andy Jassy actually addressed that exact anxiety in the letter. He explicitly stated, quote, "We're not investing approximately $200 billion in CapEx in 2026 on a hunch."
Not on a hunch.
Right. And he brought the receipts to back it up. The primary proof point he offered is OpenAI's staggering $100 billion commitment to AWS.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's part of a strategic partnership they just expanded back in February, which actually extended a previous agreement over 8 years.
Okay, so going back to my highway analogy for a second. Amazon isn't just, like, paving millions of miles of road and just hoping the cars show up eventually.
Not at all.
They already have signed ironclad contracts from millions of drivers who are just waiting at the on-ramp with their engines idling.
Yeah.
OpenAI essentially paid the toll for the next decade.
Precisely. And Jesse mentioned several other large agreements that are already completed or, in process. But the hardware story actually goes even deeper than just hosting other people's models. We also need to talk about what Amazon is doing with their custom silicon.
Right, the chips. The digest notes that Amazon's custom chip division, which that covers their Graviton, Trainium, and Nitro chips, that division just hit a $20 billion annual revenue run rate.
Yeah.
And it's growing at triple-digit rates year over year. But Jassy also dropped this massive hint that Amazon might start selling those chips directly to third parties.
Which is a monumental power shift in the tech landscape.
How so?
Well, look at the mechanism here. For the last few years, NVIDIA has been the undisputed king of AI hardware, right? If you wanted to train an AI model, you had to buy NVIDIA's GPUs.
They were the only game in town.
Basically. And they are brilliant generalist chips that can do almost anything. But Amazon realized they don't actually need generalist chips for their own data centers. They need hyper-specialized chips designed specifically for their own server racks to reduce power consumption and increase speed.
So they just built their own.
They built their own. And hitting a $20 billion run rate proves they are successfully running their own AI infrastructure on their own terms. And if they start selling Trainium or Nitro chips directly to third parties, they are no longer just the cloud provider hosting the AI. They are directly challenging NVIDIA's hardware dominance from inside the cloud. It's a vertical integration play that disrupts the entire hardware supply chain.
Man. And clearly the market loved it because Amazon stocks surged 5.6% on the news, up to $233.65.
Yep.
But, Amazon wouldn't be laying down $200 billion worth of tracks if developers weren't fundamentally changing the kind of trains they're running on them. Which brings us out of the physical hardware layer and directly into the software layer. We're seeing a massive shift toward autonomous enterprise tools.
And this is where the rubber really meets the road for actual productivity.
For sure. So GitHub just published their early April release roundup for VS Code,
Right.
which is, the platform millions of developers use to write software. And the headline feature is something called autopilot mode. It's currently in public preview. And according to the digest, this allows AI agents to approve their own actions, retry errors automatically, and work until a task is completely finished with zero human intervention.
Zero. And when you zoom out from just this one update, what you're actually looking at is a profound psychological shift in software development.
What do you mean?
Well, for a while now, AI has been positioned as a co-pilot,
Right.
a really smart autocomplete that might, suggest a block of code, but a human developer always stays in the driver's seat. They review everything before it goes live.
So wait, are you saying developers are just going to let AI deploy code without even checking it?
That is exactly the transition we are watching, moving from a co-pilot to an autopilot.
Wow.
The AI is given a high-level goal, it writes the code, it runs the tests, it evaluates its own work, it spots its own errors, and then it fixes them. Autonomy is the key word here.
And it's not just startups. Major traditional enterprises are buying into this completely. Look at the Replit story. Accenture, which is one of the largest consulting firms in the entire world, they just invested in them to bring what they call vibe coding into enterprise environments.
Vibe coding.
Yeah, vibe coding. And the digest mentions Replit raised a $400 million Series D round, which values the company at $9 billion.
And for anyone listening who might think of corporate funding rounds as just like dry finance trivia, a Series D round is actually incredibly telling.
How so?
Well, a Series A or B, that's seed money. It's funding to figure out if an idea even works. Series D is scaling money. It means the experiment is over, it worked, and now they are just pouring fuel on the fire. Replit already has over 50 million users, and they are in 85% of Fortune 500 companies.
That's huge. But I want to go back to that phrase, vibe coding, because honestly, that sounds incredibly casual. For something Accenture is pitching to Fortune 500 banks and healthcare companies.
It does sound super casual, but it describes a massive paradigm shift. Historically, humans have had to speak the language of computers to get anything done, right? You had to learn syntax, variables, loops.
Right. Python, Java, all that.
Exactly. Vibe coding flips that entirely. Now, computers speak the language of human intent. A user essentially dictates the vibe or the conceptual goal of an application in plain English, and the autonomous AI agents just go into the background and build it.
Which honestly makes his next story from the digest objectively hilarious to me.
Wait, the Microsoft one?
Yes. So Microsoft is currently revising the terms of use for their Copilot software. Apparently, they are frantically removing quote-unquote legacy language that explicitly stated the tool was for entertainment purposes only.
It's so funny.
It is incredible. Just imagine outfitting your entire company with heavy manufacturing machinery. You're paying top dollar for it. And then you walk onto the factory floor and find a little legal sticker on the side of a massive robotic arm that says, for entertainment purposes only.
It's the perfect encapsulation of how fast this transition happened, really. That legal language dates back to the very early days when this was just a quirky Bing chat experiment.
Right.
And now it's a mission-critical autonomous tool that writes production code, and the legal terms are just awkwardly sprinting to catch up to the reality of the product, especially since Microsoft charges enterprises $30 per user per month for it.
You can't exactly charge $30 a head for an entertainment novelty.
Definitely not.
Exactly. But it's not just developers and Fortune 500 companies feeling this shift, which brings us to our next point. These advancements are flowing directly into the personal workflows of everyday users.
Like you and me.
Exactly,
Yeah.
like you listening to this right now. Google just launched a massive update that merges two of their biggest tools, Gemini, their chat AI, and NotebookLM, which is their deep research tool. They've combined them into a single persistent workspace.
And this integration solves a major friction point in personal productivity. NotebookLM has always been a powerhouse for research. You could upload dense PDFs or long documents and have the AI analyze them, but it was isolated.
Right, before this, you had to context switch constantly. Like you do your heavy document organization in NotebookLM, but if you wanted to do a quick daily task like drafting an email based on that research, you had to jump over to a totally separate Gemini chat window.
And what Google has done now is build a bidirectional sync between the two.
Okay, so what does this all mean for the user? To put that in non-technical terms, think of it like having a personal librarian. Before, you had to leave your desk, walk down into the archives, gather your research in NotebookLM, and walk all the way back to your desk to actually write the thing in Gemini.
That's a great way to put it.
Thanks. But with bidirectional sync, the librarian is just standing right at your desk. Anything you add to a notebook instantly appears in your Gemini chat, and any insights you generate in Gemini sync right back into your notebook. The data flows both ways continuously. But I gotta ask, is this Google integration actually a game changer, or is it just a massive tech company moving buttons around on a screen?
Oh, no, it's definitely a game changer. That bidirectional flow is incredibly hard to engineer reliably. But if it works as promised, it fundamentally changes how users interact with information. The Digest points out that this directly challenges what OpenAI is doing with ChatGPT projects and what Anthropic is doing with Claude projects.
So it's a major productivity upgrade.
Massive. It means your casual daily chat interface suddenly has the full weight of your heavy uploaded research tools right behind it. You can generate video overviews, infographics, and audio summaries directly in the chat without having to re-upload a single document.
Which is amazing. Currently, it's rolling out to Google AI Ultra Pro and Plus subscribers first, though it's excluded from Workspace education accounts for now. And, Google isn't the only one moving at breakneck speed.
Not at all.
The Digest gave us a quick rundown of the sheer scale of the industry right now, and the pace is just staggering. Anthropic's Claude is finally stable after some outages earlier in the week. DeepSeek V4 is holding for a mid to late April launch.
Which people are very excited about.
Very. And Grok 5 is actively training on the Colossus 2 cluster, targeting a Q2 2026 release. Oh, and Inflection Pi just added proactive check-ins to their model.
The speed of innovation across all these competitors is literally blinding. And that speed creates value. We are talking about hundreds of billions of dollars in new wealth and productivity being generated in real time.
Which naturally brings us to the final and definitely the most dramatic part of today's Digest. Because when you have that much money and power on the line, the stakes for who actually controls this foundational technology become existential. We are seeing unprecedented legal warfare and immense pressure to build the next giant.
And you see those two extremes playing out simultaneously, which is fascinating. On one end, you have the rapid democratization of power. Like Perplexity, they just announced their billion-dollar build competition.
Right.
It's an 8-week challenge where small teams use Perplexity Computer to try and build a brand new company with a clear path to a $1 billion valuation. And they're handing out up to $1 million in investment and compute credits to the finalists.
8 weeks to build a unicorn. A billion-dollar company from scratch in 2 months. That's just insane to even think about.
It is. But that's the democratization side. The belief that small teams of vibe coders can just disrupt massive industries from their bedrooms. But on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you have a brutal courtroom brawl over the centralization of existing power.
Yes, the impending trial set for April 27th in Oakland Federal Court. Elon Musk versus Sam Altman. The rhetoric here is completely escalating.
Yeah.
Musk just filed a motion to have Sam Altman and Greg Brockman removed from their leadership roles at OpenAI.
Wow.
Yeah. And he is framing his massive $150 billion damages claim as, quote, charitable restitution to the original nonprofit.
This raises an important question, though. We really need to break down the mechanics of what charitable restitution actually means in this specific context because it's a fascinating legal maneuver.
Break it down for us.
So OpenAI did not start as a tech giant. It started as a 501c3 nonprofit, literally a charity, with a mission to develop AI safely for humanity. But building AI requires an unbelievable amount of compute, which costs billions.
And charities can't exactly easily raise billions of dollars from venture capitalists.
Exactly. So they created a weird hybrid structure. They created a capped profit subsidiary underneath the nonprofit board. Investors could put money in, but their returns were strictly capped. The nonprofit board retained ultimate control. What Musk is arguing in this lawsuit is that the current leadership abandoned that charitable mission to chase profits with Microsoft.
And the judge previously ruled that Musk couldn't seek punitive damages for himself, right?
Right. So by framing the $150 billion as charitable restitution, Musk is basically arguing that the money shouldn't go to him. It should be returned to the original nonprofit entity to fund its original mission.
Okay.
It allows the massive financial claim to survive in court while positioning Musk as the defender of OpenAI's original open source ethos.
But OpenAI is fighting back just as hard. They're urging the California and Delaware attorneys general to investigate Musk for what they're calling improper and anti-competitive behavior. They're pointing to alleged coordination between Musk and Meta's Mark Zuckerberg.
The plot thickens.
Seriously, OpenAI has publicly stated that Musk's lawsuit is driven purely by, quote, ego, jealousy, and harassment. And I want to pause here and be perfectly clear to you, the listener. We are not taking any sides in this dispute.
No, definitely not.
We are simply reporting on the legal arguments and the rhetoric contained in today's source material from the digest.
And it is essential to remain impartial here because the implications of this trial go far beyond the personal drama of billionaires calling each other jealous.
Why does that specific legal precedent matter to someone listening to this right now?
Because this 4-week trial is going to be the first ever jury trial over a nonprofit to capped profit conversion in the AI industry.
Yeah.
A jury is essentially going to decide what an AI lab actually owes the public versus what it owes its investors. Every major AI lab will be watching this.
Setting the ground rules.
Exactly. It sets the ground rules for how governance transitions are scrutinized in the future. And critically, this is all happening just as OpenAI is reportedly targeting a massive initial public offering in Q4 of 2026.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this trial is going to force massive public discovery into the internal power dynamics of the world's leading AI lab right before one of the most historic public offerings in tech history.
The juxtaposition really is wild. On one hand, you have small, scrappy teams competing in an 8-week sprint to build a billion-dollar company using autonomous agents. And on the other hand, you have the most powerful men in the world fighting in federal court over $150 billion and the fundamental control of the infrastructure.
It perfectly highlights the two opposing forces defining the industry today, really. The incredible democratization of creation tools and the massive centralization of capital.
Let's bring this all together for you. We started this deep dive looking at the staggering physical foundation being poured today. Amazon laying down $200 billion in capital expenditures, generating a $15 billion run rate, and successfully deploying custom silicon to challenge NVIDIA.
Right.
Then we moved up to the software layer, exploring how GitHub's Autopilot and Replic's vibe coding are allowing AI agents to build and fix software autonomously, moving us from human syntax to human intent.
And we saw how Google is bringing that immense autonomous power directly into your personal workflow, right? By creating a bidirectional sync between Gemini and NotebookLM, basically putting a tireless research librarian right at your desk.
And finally, we looked at the courtroom battle for the very soul of the AI industry as it speeds toward a massive IPO.
If there is one overarching insight to take away from Aaron Rose's digest today, it is that the theoretical phase of AI is definitively over. You are living through the exact moment this technology matures from a novelty into the foundational layer of the global economy.
It really is like watching a chaotic gold rush transform into a heavily industrialized city right before our eyes. The tents are gone, the railroads are down, and the economy is humming.
But that leaves us with a lingering question to mull over. With autonomous agents now capable of evaluating and approving their own actions and physical infrastructure requiring $200 billion war chests, we find ourselves at a profound crossroads. Will the future of this new digital city be entirely owned and controlled by the giants who can afford the massive server farms and the $150 billion lawsuits? Or will tools like Perplexity and Replit allow a small team of vibe coders in a bedroom to democratize that power and build the next billion-dollar empire completely under the radar?
It's the ultimate tension between the giants and the builders. We'll leave you to think about that. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.